John Grant here in Los Angeles. We're live on the 405, and Brett Winterble joins us, fellow Live 365 host and also on Siruis XM 168. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. You have a foot in the broadcast world. You work for Roger Hedgecock, or you did? Is that correct?
Yes, I've got a connection. I work with Roger Hedgecock. I do this show. A little bit of everything. I've
okay.
been.
I have caught you filling in on some on-air stations here on the West Coast and in San Diego, and you also work for Rush. I'm reading right out of your Wikipedia here, so correct me if I'm wrong. Rush and Michael Reagan. How cool is that?
It was pretty cool. I mean, it was a great opportunity to work with people that are at the top of the game in talk radio. And the funny thing about it is the best lesson I learned, and I think you'll appreciate this from being somebody who's worked as a music jock, is the magic of Rush Limbaugh is not so much that he's got conservative politics. A lot of people like that. He's got massive people following him. But his craft as a broadcaster is really almost without peer. You forget that the guy is deaf, number one. Number two, he's a master of forward momentum, and he's a master of being an entertainer on the radio, but instead of spinning records, he's spinning sound bites and callers.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I listen to things that he does, and you can sort of tell that his roots were in, rock and roll and music because of the various, production stuff that he does and just, the overall tightness of it. You can tell he, sort of has an ear for that, and he was in that era because I can hear the way he does stuff and that whole approach to the production and the tightness of it really shines through and really kind of tells you where he came from.
Absolutely. He's a fun guy to work with, a consummate professional, and just an absolute blast.
Okay, looks like your show has its roots in 9/11, defense, military, Al Qaeda, international intrigue. Is that your comfort zone, really?
You know what? It's funny. 9/11 changed the world, and it prompted me to start doing this show. Not in the immediate aftermath of 9/11. It actually prompted me to go get a master's degree in intelligence methods and homeland security. And then, as an outgrowth of that, I wanted to marry talk radio with this area. At that time, it was a woefully underserved area. There weren't a lot of people doing sort of the things that I do or I did at that point. As the war on terror has wound down, and this show began actually just as a series of occasional 5-minute podcasts with me riffing on random things. It then morphed into a 15-minute a day every day, and then an hour every day, and then 3 hours every day. It became its own kind of animal. But as the war on terror has changed in its focus and the phases have changed, this show has moved more towards conventional political cultural talk with a libertarian bent, I would say. So. Okay. So just like everybody's got a favorite sport or a favorite thing they like to talk about, yeah, admittedly, international intrigue and mayhem and bad guys in dark corners of the world will always be my first love. But we have to serve a broader radio public, so we kind of try to hit everything.
Okay, on the topic-specific stuff, how do you think the Obama administration squares its public Muslim outreach with the fact that the covert bombing and drone attacks and, Middle East have just been relentless? I mean, the facade is we're mending fences with the Muslim world, but the reality is we're still bombing the crap out of them over there. Yeah,
you are 100% correct. It is true, and it is a duplicitous message on so many levels, because it appears that, okay, we're trying to be friends. He goes and gives a speech in June of 2009 at Cairo University. In the front row of the speech is our members of the Muslim Brotherhood, who would eventually lead the Egyptian revolution that we watched for the last 2 years. And he has pledged outreach to the Muslim world, but at the same time, he's been much more aggressive. If you go and look at the numbers of drone strikes, he's been much more aggressive with the decapitation of Al Qaeda than even Bush was. Bush and the administration under George Bush were very aggressive in terms of the heavy footprint, land invasion, massive army striking kind of stuff out of Patton and things like that. Obama really did ratchet up the drone strike capabilities, and at least in the early part of his term, He greatly increased over what George Bush was doing, the drone strike, and he's got huge kills. I mean, setting aside bin Laden even, I mean, just other people that are leaders in the al-Qaeda movement, Anwar al-Awlaki in Yemen, a number of people taken out in Somalia that were leaders, Betullah Masood, one of the Taliban leaders in Pakistan that was responsible for the killing of Benazir Bhutto, who was running for president. These were all people that he's whacked and done a very good job of it. So is he giving lip service to the world and still killing bad guys? It's hard to know what his motivation is, but I can't argue with his results as of this.
Well, and he has the benefit of not having embedded press, you know, when a drone goes blowing overhead. The press was all over the ground presence in Iraq and Afghanistan, but he can sort of, you know, operate this and not talk about it, not show it. Unless it shows up in some foreign press somewhere, nobody really knows that it happened or if he's going to claim a kill of somebody. That's true. And look, there's all upside for him. If you look at the battle between, say the battle in this country is between Barack Obama and his supporters and, say, Mitt Romney and his supporters, just to shorthand it, he's not going to get grief from the American right for killing terrorists. I mean, nobody is going to come running out and say it's terrible that you're whacking these terrorists. He's not going to have to deal with a Rick Santorum or a Sarah Palin or a Mitt Romney saying it's terrible that we're killing terrorists. His problem is with his left. The anti-war left, the Dennis Kucinich, Howard Dean sort of left in this country, and by extension, or in the same sort of canoe, there would be many of like the Ron Paul right, the people who don't want to see us involved in entangled alliances or complicated overseas affairs that are not authorized by acts of Congress. So he does the balancing, and he goes, you know what? This is going to insulate me from critiques from the right. I'm willing to take the shots from the left and from the Ron Paul wing of the right, and I'll take my chances. So it's really a no-lose for him. I saw in Drudge today that soldiers commit suicide at twice the rate they're killed in action. Do you think we're officially at a point where it's in a Band-Aid mode in the Middle East until after the election, where they're not going to let it get any worse, they're not going to let it get any better? If there are fires to put out in Iran, so be it. But we're going to see things kind of slow and steady just until after the election? You know what? Unfortunately, we don't set the tempo in the Middle East at all. And really, the notion that we could is I think is folly, short of having, you know, ground troops in Iraq where we can actually control a battle on the ground. Events in the Middle East are going to be driven almost exclusively by the Iranians, by the Syrians, and by the Israelis. And so we are in a strictly reactive mode. This is one of the big failings of this administration. There's no cohesive foreign policy. If you look at what Ronald Reagan represented with his foreign policy, it was defeat the Soviets. We win, they lose. I mean, he would encapsulate it in about 12 words. If you look at Bill Clinton's foreign policy, it was very simple to understand. You know, peace dividend, reapproaching relations with the Russians, doing all the good stuff there. George W. Bush, very simple foreign policy: kill al-Qaeda, win the war on terror. Obama's is so nuanced that it really becomes whack-a-mole. It becomes catch as catch can. You know, we're going to reach out to people unless they don't want to reach out to us, and if they don't want to reach out to us, then we're going to kill them. And I mean, it really is a mess. Do you think that do you think that Russia can reconstitute the old USSR, you know, militarily in the big fist? And, you know, do you think the Russia-China alliance is going to be a threat? Or, you know, is China just too much of a house of cards domestically to be more than a regional bully? China is on the brink of a dumpster fire inside the country. They are on the brink of economic and political fragmentation. Russia is not going to go back to the old USSR model except by aggressive use of force. What they will end up doing is go probably back to the old Tsarist model, because now you've got Vlad Putin in charge and everything is totally copacetic and he's making a lot of money and he's calling the shots. He's the new czar. Rather than the new Soviet Union, he's the new czar, and they're going to make a lot of money by selling energy, and he's going to steal a lot of the money, and he already has stolen a lot of the money, and he's going to continue to support the bad guys out there. According to Drudge again, liberals are threatening to withhold votes for Obama. I mean, do they not think he's heading fast enough into European-style socialism? Do they think Obama won't turn us into Greece because he's a better person? What do they want out of the guy? I mean, I think he's moved as far as he can to, you know, that unsustainable debt situation that they have over there. And are they going to be around come election time because there's just nothing else? Yeah, without a doubt. The left will come on board. The left will
will get in with Obama and will do what they have to do to deliver the votes. There is no doubt in my mind. There's no reason to believe for a minute the left is going to abandon Barack Obama for Mitt Romney. There is no viable third candidate out there over on the left. They're staying with Obama.
All right, Brett Winterble, you rock.
Hey, man, I appreciate it.
The Brett Winterble Show on Live 365, Sirius XM, on Twitter, at Winterble Show, or winterble.com. Thanks for joining us, and we'll be sure to catch you every night.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Good luck, and God bless.
Thank you. John Grant here in Los Angeles, and we'll be back with more of the 405 Live in just a moment.